While Ishana Night Shyamalan The Watchers was not a true blue Irish horror movie, it was of Irish source, and as per my review, I had a lot of fun with that movie. Little did I know, we had been offered another gem of an Irish horror flick with writer-director Damien McCarthy's Oddity. We were immediately set our stage at the creepy country house where a psychiatric doctor, Ted, and wife Danny was settling in with major renovation. Ted had to leave her poor bride all along to safeguard the dreary cobblestone structure, while his excuse was his commitment in the mental asylum he was working in. We as audience should not be surprised to see Danny being visited by a hooded guy with a crazy eye who we were informed later was a former patient of Ted. Danny was smartened not to open the door to let strangers into her unfurnished abode, let alone someone with a crazy contact lens. The patient named Olin Bull warned Danny that he saw someone sneaked into the house with ominous intention. Well, like Danny, it was hard to trust the crazy hooded guy. Well, Danny was wrong. We were all wrong, and things did not end up well for poor Danny, who in the first place had to stay within a tent in the creepy house, which was horrendous punishment dished out on her to begin with. Her grieving husband Ted then visited Danny's twin sister Darcy, who was played by the same actress Caroline Bracken, but was totally unrecognizable as a different twin, mainly because of hairdo. Darcy, who was blind, owned a pawn shop filled with haunted ornaments, which was named Othello's Oddities, which gave the title of this movie. It was known to us that Darcy possessed psychometric powers, and she felt that she could find out her sister's tragic death if she could come into contact with a piece of imported item that was linked to the death. Ted, who now a year later had hooked up with Yana, a pharmaceutical sales lady after Danny's demise, perhaps out of courtesy, invited Darcy to their secluded country house, which Darcy duly obliged, as she started to suspect something about the truth behind Danny's death. Her impromptu visit caught both Ted and her new partner by surprise. Especially Ted was on his way to work, leaving Yana in an awkward situation, having to host the blind sister of her partner's deceased wife. What made it even more uncomfortable for Yana was that Darcy arrived with a wooden mannequin that seems to creep out of a wooden box it was kept in en route to the house. What transpired was a brilliant, nifty story of how humankind can be the most malevolent and ruthless entity who would go to the extreme measures to attain some selfish interest. I legitimately felt my goosebumps raising all over my body for several key scenes. It was not like McCarthy did not give hints of such scares, but it was still highly effective when it was shown. The scary mannequin, motionless in the dark, felt like your eyes starting to deceive you of any minute movement. Then there is the movement trigger camera that Danny positioned in the house, which was also an element that created enough tension to smother me with. And then the house itself. It has so many blind spots at various angles that would be hard to guard from any prospective attacks. Speaking of the house itself, it was like designed in a rectangular perimeter lodging with a big yard in the middle for parking vehicles. However, the characters just live in one specific side of the building, so were there any other occupants? In terms of filmmaking, there was nothing fancy from McCarthy, as he just knew how to lay the threads of the plot and create effective scares. The performances were solid, albeit nothing spectacular, but I thought Caroline Bracken's Darcy was an interesting protagonist. When I thought about laying the threads, it all tied up eventually with very little plot holes to scrutinize with, although as audience we had to be a bit more attentive due to the quiet nature of the dialogues. After watching this movie, I felt it was not outrageous to treat it like a theatre play with the limited locations and a small cast of characters. I think the scares might be effective on stage as well. This smaller feature came under the radar in recent months, but I was really glad I had caught it, and it is an 8 upon 10 in my book. I was really glad about the recommendations of the movie online. If not, likely I would have overlooked it. Please like and share, and even recommend any horror movie you would like me to review. And a subscription from you guys goes a long way for me. My previous review was on Lee Daniels' The Deliverance, which I felt is worth to check it out. Now let me go check on the property cost of such outlandish country house in Ireland, but one without a big peephole like theirs. Good night.